This is Secrets to Win Big, your roadmap to sustained growth. Brought to you by Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. Find him at zenmango.com. And now, here's your host, Arjun Sen.
Welcome to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen. Today, it is my pleasure to have a conversation with Suresh Shenoy. Before I go into Suresh's amazing accomplishments, on a personal note, Suresh has been truly an inspiration, a mentor, and a big brother to me. Suresh is a senior business executive and a philanthropist. I have got to see that second side, the side of philanthropist Suresh, a lot. I've seen his impact as a founder, director, and current vice chairman of Wheels Global Foundation that provides technology-driven solutions to potable water, affordable healthcare, renewable energy, education, livelihoods, and sustainability. Just talking about Wheels for a second, seeing how Wheels evolved, I really feel in a world where most of us start taking things, if one of us are part of an organization that gives back even to one person, that changes the equation. Seeing Wheels over the years give back selflessly, one at a time, to people all over the world, truly has been inspiring. And I'm really excited to get into more conversation about the vision and how it was built. Suresh has served as chairman of the American Red Cross in National Capital Region and was inducted as a distinguished alumni of IIT Bombay, and also into the new Science Museum Board of Advisors that is under construction in Virginia. Suresh and myself, we also share another common point where we both went to the same high school, St. Lawrence High School in Kolkata. Suresh, truly an honor. Welcome to Secrets to Win Big.
Thank you, Arjun, for that very generous introduction. It's a joy, a pleasure, and a privilege to be on the Zoom call with you. So thank you.
Absolutely. So Suresh, let's start going straight as Suresh, the leader in the field of giving back. You were having a very successful professional career, which you continue to have. But all of a sudden, you added a dimension, which started with Pan IIT and then Wheels. What drove you into this additional dimension of really high-level givebacks?
Well, it actually started with the IIT alumni, initiatives to try to brand the IITs. At that time, back in 2005, 2006, relatively few people really knew about the IIT system, outside of India. So there was a 60-minute show, as you know, which gave it a lot of, brand recognition. But then I had a very interesting meeting with a leading brand authority, and he said a brand is only as good as the product that it represents. So while we take pride in the accomplishments of all the IIT alumni in India as well as outside of India, we could not answer a question that President Abdul Kalam asked as to what have you done for your country? Not only the country by birth, but also the country by adoption. Mm-hmm. And although a lot of people have done, good things, it was very difficult to point to a collective effort. And when Abdul Kalam, the president, asked us, why don't we try to solve the big problems? We got together and thought about the 6 areas that you mentioned earlier, which the acronym WHEEL stands for. And much later, it also occurred to us that philanthropy is not just about writing a check.
Mhm.
The old Indian, saying a tan, man, or dhan, which loosely translates to time, talent, and treasure. What we realized is there's a very large number of alumni from the IIT system who are not able to give hundreds of millions of dollars, but they are very willing to give small amounts of money. And so collectively, we can make a big difference. And as engineers, the amount of talent that we have is incredible in the organization. So we were not seeking money from the people. We were seeking time and talent. And when we start giving time and talent, we can make a huge difference. And when you look at the problems around the world, they're enormous. And to scale philanthropy, it's very difficult to have more Mother Teresas, if you will, who do phenomenal work, but in smaller scale. But the only way you can scale philanthropy is through application of technology. So our mantra, our creed has been applying technology for transformation.
Mhm.
So that is very interesting. It is very challenging, and it keeps us, up to speed on how technology can be applied in very dire circumstances in the United States and in India. So that's what drove me, and that's what keeps me engaged.
Wow. So a few things that really hit home was when you talked about a brand is defined by one, the product, and second, the impact you're making. Second, how you articulated beautifully the concept of tan, man, dhan. And it helped me understand that Wheels literally is a path to aggregate individuals with big hearts, with a lot of talent. How do we put all their talents and their hearts together? And then how do you scale using technology?
Right.
Now, Suresh, in this journey, it's easy for somebody like me to follow once a path is created. Okay. So you are one of the founder directors of Wheels. So can you take me back to the launch of Wheels, beginning of Wheels, the vision, and the talent and the leadership that it took from you and others that create this sustainable organization that will be bigger way after all of us are not on this planet, but this Wheels will keep going on. So take me into the founding, the building of Wheels, the vision, and the leaders that built it.
Well, after we were thrown the challenge of, first of all, solving the big problems, we didn't know what those big problems were. So we had a kind of a roundtable session, which was very well attended by, at the time, people like Rajat Gupta, Padma Warrior, others. I can give all the names, but for the sake of this conversation, there were about 15 or 20 of us in the room, and we zeroed in on these 6 areas: water, health, education, energy, etc. And then we started doing individual projects, a clean water project here and a toilet project there, and small amounts of money, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 type of projects. And we learned along the way that these projects are not sustainable, because in order for philanthropy to succeed, in some ways, the recipient has to have an economic interest in the success of that project. If there is no economic interest, if there is no direct benefit to them, then there is a possibility of those programs going asunder and unattended to, and people lose interest in it. But when there is an economic interest, when it creates jobs, when it creates local economic benefits, people pay attention to it, they contribute to it, and they help to maintain it and sustain it and expand it. So we adopted certain principles that whatever projects we do has to impact local economy in many ways. Secondly, if there is an entrepreneurial twist to it, if there is ownership in it, local ownership, then the ability to sustain it is much higher. So we added entrepreneurship to the program. And then we looked at simple technologies. When you ask a person the time, you don't want to know how the watch is made. So it doesn't matter whether it's artificial intelligence or blockchain or what, or how the smartphone works, but giving access to that information, making people more knowledgeable about how these technologies are applied, makes more economic sense to them than knowing how to make it. So that became an important criteria that we use. And along the way, we also came across a lot of NGOs. There are over 1 million non-government organizations, philanthropic organizations who are doing what I call hero work.
Mhm.
There are individuals who are passionate about education or passionate about cleaning water or whatever, but they don't have the technology access that they need to scale it and replicate it. So scaling and replication became an important element. And all this has evolved over time through lessons learned in the field. And then the numbers are so huge, it's mind-boggling. If you look at India alone, there are 900 million people who live in rural India. And they have the same aspirations as anybody living in the urban sector. But then you add another scale, another layer of cities and townships, which we call rural areas. They are very rural in the sense that they don't have access to healthcare, they don't have access to good education, but they are very large population centers. Some what I call third-tier cities, if you will, in India. Those 900 million people represent a huge commercial interest to anybody who wants to satisfy their basic requirements. It could be things like preserving your vegetables beyond 2 days or 3 days, simple refrigeration. It could be simple transportation. Okay, it could be things like using solar energy, renewable energy to give them access to power supply. These are not rocket science, this is not rocket science. And it's also a huge market. It's more than the population of Europe and North America combined. That's how big the market is. And so if we shifted our attention from what we normally attribute to urban living, but the application of technology to rural lifestyles, it's a huge commercial opportunity as well. And when you join hands with the people who are working in local areas, who have gained the respect of the local communities, and we supplement their work with technology, we have magic everywhere, and it can be scaled. I can give you numerous examples if you wish, but I'll stop at that.
Yeah, so as I'm listening to you, the big thing that hit me was it's not about doing things, but it's having a real impact that is sustained. And secondly, instead of the person on the other side being a recipient, you're bringing them also inside the family where they become shareholders and own the project and the initiative for it to sustain. I also love the way you have broken it down. Instead of putting forward products that Wheels is excited about, to see what the local level needs are.
Yes.
And how we deliver. But the big thing that keeps hitting me all through is the genius of Wheels is how do we use technology to aggregate amazing initiatives that people have in their minds, they're ready to do, but they did not have a path to market, they did not have a path to scale, and they did not have a path of access to other minds together that can magnify. It's like you're changing the ROI of impact through Wheels IP. I want to take the conversation from there to a place which, knowing you, is little uncomfortable because you are decently very modest. I want to talk about Suresh, the leader. And I have seen you in challenging situations. I have seen you on a golf course. I have seen you in fun celebrations, but you always live a life of even keel. You're always engaged. So what is it that drives Suresh, the leader, the uniqueness, the superpower that allows you to perform at the highest level, but you stay at an even keel, the same Suresh also?
Well, thanks for that. Growing up, there was one line that my mother used to say to me, quite often. And she said, you have to learn to be content. You have learned to be content without losing your ambition.
Wow.
That's a very, very difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you lose your ambition, then you lose your drive. Okay, so you have to be ambitious. You want to solve the big problems, but you can't take, failure, to stop doing what you're doing. So you have to keep at it. You have to keep at it, but you also have to be content with what you have achieved, and that's a difficult thing to define.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, a simple example is, when we came to the US and bought my first car, it was a old beat up Volkswagen, and then, I used Camry or something. And I always hoped that I could buy a Mercedes sometime.
Mm-hmm.
You buy a Mercedes and then you see a lot of people driving Bentleys, and that hierarchy keeps going up. But if you're not, if you start saying that, look, I need a means of communication and transportation, that is comfortable and safe, you may settle for a car that you're happy with and does the job. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't work towards getting another, better model or something. So being content without losing your ambition is a big challenge. I think that keeps one going. It keeps one engaged in sort of, at different stages in life, there are different things that you want to achieve as you get married and children and so on and so forth. So that target keeps moving, and we cannot just sit back and say, I have done it, I have succeeded, I'm going to take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, which kind of brings to a second core, thing that I realized much later in life, that somebody at some award ceremony said, you're getting this award because they're putting you to pasture. You're done. It was some kind of a award of merit from the information management industry. And they asked me to say a few words, at that time. And one word that jumped at me was, relevance. How can they put someone to pasture? There is so much experience, there is so much knowledge that we have gained, which in the context of changing technology scene, adoption of those technologies takes a certain amount of discipline and process. So our relevance continues to be when we are able to exercise our experience in ways that adoption of new technologies, changes in organization can be implemented. So one never is put to pasture. You just have to know how to make them relevant to the industry. So relevance is another factor that keeps you going, and you have to keep finding your, how you stay relevant to yourself, to your industry, to your family, and so forth.
If I take both your mom's wisdom and the concept of relevance, to me, I think that's a great balance, because without being content, we stay in an endless journey.
Yes.
Without having time to appreciate the people, life, ourselves in life, and become a constant go, go, go. On the other side, if we stop going, become stagnant,
Yes.
then in the morning, when the alarm goes, we press the snooze button. Like, I want to jump out of bed with excitement that today I'm talking to Suresh. Okay? So there has to be something that of excitement. And I wanted to ask you a follow-up question, and you answered even before I asked is, what's the drive? And that's the part where your whole thought about always stay relevant, like relevance tomorrow, the way the world is changing so rapidly. Relevance tomorrow will be different than relevance today. That constantly staying relevant is very important. And I want to take that relevance to another area is as you go through, we all face obstacles and challenges. And when we face the obstacles, it looks like Mount Everest at that point. What's your reaction when you face obstacle challenges? Like, what's your secret to overcoming obstacles, not to give up?
Well, thankfully, we've had a good education, and one of the advantages of staying active in an organization like Pan IIT, or for that matter, the local Chamber of Commerce or the Red Cross, etc., is that you build this very rich repository of people that you can turn to for advice, people that you can lean on, in how to solve these problems. And when you come to a mountain, like you said, you have two options, three options actually. You can sit back and sort of slouch and say, geez, this is the end of my journey, but that doesn't have to be the case. You can try to figure out how you climb the mountain and see what's on the other side. Or you can say, if it's not climbable, then you say, okay, I'm going to find a way around it and go either to the side or go back and sort of take another picture and see if there are alternative ways to get beyond that obstacle. So networking is a very important element of staying relevant. And one of the things that I have enjoyed throughout my life, in both in the academic sense, in my alumni activities or Red Cross or local Chamber of Commerce, etc., is I think my deep interest in learning more about the people that I meet, and find ways in which our careers, our paths, our interests might have crossed. If not, learn something new. And when that happens, if there is a problem, I can guarantee you there's someone who has faced something similar. You're not unique in that sense. And there might be options that they offer you by way of an advice. So networking and staying, engaged in the community is a very important part of becoming a leader. So
one of the things I did was to get ready for this interview, I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people, common friends we have, and I reached out to a few of them unnamed, asking them a very simple question. What is one thing that is unique about Suresh Shenoy? And the answer I got really resonated with me is thinking big. When I look back, earlier during Pan IIT days, all of us were driven by our pride being part of a common alumni organization. You were one of the first to say, let's make the tent broader. Let's bring talent from everywhere, whether it is an event, because the world is one world. And that is one of the things that when I started hearing from different alumni friends of mine, really resonated, because sometimes, Suresh, you were ahead of our times. I personally, at times, used to get uncomfortable thinking, come on, Suresh, this is an IIT event. Why are you talking about outside people? But I guess it takes time for us to grow up and become wise. And I really wanted to share that that was a universal, common theme that all of us see in you is how you have not only lived the life of inclusiveness, that's networking to the next level, but also helped us, and that's the reason I started by saying you're a mentor that inspires, is helped us also see the bigger the tent, stronger we are together. And I really wanted to share that with you, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It's not a new concept, you know. I mean, look, you're a guru of branding and a guru of marketing, and you know, when you're establishing a brand, sometimes you might be branding it for a specific demography or a specific audience. But in the case of a university where, you know, we have as many people in different sectors of industry and community, you know, we have everyone from someone who has started Akshay Patra, you know, as an example, to someone who has started a whole industry like Sun Microsystems and so on. So we have a wide range of people. So when we are branding ourselves, and as I said, you know, you know, if we don't reach out to the broader community, who are we branding to? Okay, we have a very broad, the whole world is a canvas for us. So we got to use every part of it and reach out and demonstrate how, you know, we might have impacted or participate in every part of the community. So from that sense, you know, we are trying to create a master brand, right? I mean, IIT as a master brand that not just brands any one IIT or one institution even, but it represents the amazing human resource potential of India in general. Because even those who did not get into IIT, but went into medicine or went into, you know, the Indian Administrative Service or foreign, they're extremely bright people, okay, very smart, very intelligent, with tremendous experience. So we have to reach out to them. And that's also true when we look at our community where we live, you know, today. Most people would not know anything about, you know, the IITs, but once you establish the brand as someone, a segment of the society that has done well for not in themselves, but for the, you know, community in general, they start to respect you as an individual as well. And and that's one of the reasons why I felt very strongly that when we organize events, when we meet people, it's not just about us or our immediate circle of friends or immediate, you know, community. It has to be the broader community, you know, and we have to be inclusive, okay, and we have to appreciate the unique talents that each one of them brings to the table. So I think that's the right thing to do, and I'm glad that increasingly we are doing that.
So I want to take this opportunity to humbly disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about have to, I think for the rest of us, it is have to.
Yeah.
But for you, it is you want to.
Yeah.
You are by default. And I think that is the part where leaders influence rest of us when they want to. It comes spontaneous to you. And I really want to celebrate that. And now I want to go to a very goofy question. Okay.
Okay.
At the end of this conversation, you open your email and you get an invite. Suresh Shenoy today has been requested to arrange an event for Suresh Shenoy, 100 years old, Suresh today, and an 18-year-old Suresh to meet.
Yeah.
So very simple question. One, where would that meeting happen or event? And secondly, when you guys walk in, what's the first thing the 18-year-old will say? What's the first thing the 100-year-old will say? And what's the first thing Suresh today will say? So start with, where will this meeting happen?
Well, some of my fondest memories are, you know, sitting in our small, you know, apartment in Calcutta with my parents, where we would talk about different things, which I would have never guessed how much impact that would have on my life. Like my mother saying, be content without losing your ambition. That was literally a conversation sitting on the bed when we were talking about appearing for my higher secondary exams and IITs and said, don't worry about it. If you don't get into IIT, be content. You might get into some other university. That's fine. So I think as an 18-year-old, that's where my mind would take me. And at that point, the question that I would like to ask is, how do you define success? I mean, we had a wonderful childhood. My father was an executive in a bank. And at that time, we rarely thought about the trials and tribulations that they might have had to go through in their lives to bring us where we were. But I would have loved to ask them, what is success? How do you define success? When do you know you have succeeded? Is it the size of your bank account? Is it your relationships? What is it? I think that's the question that I would have asked. Now that I'm closer to 100 and I have grandchildren, that conversation would probably take place in somewhere in the United States, either in our house here or in one of their homes. And I'm very happy that both my sons are doing well and live well, so touch wood. So in one of their homes. And if my grandchildren were to ask me the same question, I would look around and say, this is success. The success that I see is not by the size of the bank account. The success is based on how I have stayed relevant to my community, right from high school days to today. I'm still in touch with my high school friends as much as I'm in touch with my next door neighbors and also my IIT classmates. So I think that ability to stay relevant is a huge challenge, even for your own family. When your children are young, they come and ask you about choices they have to make in school curriculum or the jobs or the university. But as they grow up and have their own children, that kind of conversation goes down. And in fact, they have their own standards by which they bring up their children and so on and so forth. And then you suddenly feel very relevant when they call you and say, can you babysit for us for this evening or for the next 2 days or whatever. And you say, wow, yes, of course I can. So that relevance changes over time.
Yeah.
And if you are able to satisfy that in a manner that is acceptable to your children, your family, your community, and so on, then you stay relevant and then you're succeeded. Nobody asks you, hey, Arjun, how much money do you have in your bank account? They want to know, okay, you are doing a wonderful job, you brought up a wonderful child, and so on. So the point I'm making is that as a 100-year-old, I would have some of the answers to how to define success in the context and in the framework that my mother laid out to us, which is being content without losing our ambition. So it all comes together very nicely.
I love the way you took wisdom from your parents and connected it to your grandkids and your son. So Suresh, this has been a fascinating conversation. I knew you, but today I really appreciate you opening the door to share how Suresh Shenoy operates.
Thank you.
You have been very generous with your time today. I think it's only fair because you answered all questions. Do you have any question, one question for me, which I can try to answer? Do you have anything for me?
Well, I admire, you. I cherish your your friendship. I've also followed your career and your, wonderful things that you have done, not only from your career standpoint, but, facing all the challenges that you had to. So I would love to learn more about, how do you see, you are much younger than me, and how do you see yourself growing up to where I am today? And we are doing a fabulous job of doing this podcast and capturing such information. Hopefully, people will learn from it. So tell me more about where you see yourself going with all this.
So there are 5 words that define my life. Okay? The first word is a clear goal. And I have had one clear goal from the first time I had cancer was when my 3-year-old daughter asked me, Dad, if you die, what happens on my wedding? Who is going to dance with me? And the father-daughter dance. I said, I will get there. Okay. To the best of my effort. I'll make best effort. Okay. Like that's my one goal in life is I want to be there. Even if I have to crawl, I want to be there. And with God's blessings, hopefully I'll be there. Then on a day-to-day, with challenges to everything, I live by trying to look at 3 words. Any situation, however tough it is, appreciate. Appreciate all the people in my life. That tells me I'm not alone. That way I'm not scared. Then I prepare like crazy. Before I even go to a doctor, I have every plan ahead. Like recently when I had some cancer, came back, and I was looking at my PDF, and I told my doctor, so you mean I should do proton radiation? Their jaws dropped. Like, how does this idiot know about proton radiation? I said, also, in US, you do it 5 days. In Europe, they do it 3 days a week. And Europe, long-term record, sustainability health is better. Here, you make more money. That preparation gets you the respect. And the third thing I've learned is celebration. Okay. Earlier, I was having celebration anxiety. Like, let's say you're my doctor, I need to lose 10 pounds. I come to you, you look at the scale and say, no, Arjun, 7 pounds, never. Didn't. So I go back sulking. I said, no, my life, I celebrate where I want, however I want. I'm talking to Suresh Shenoy today. In my whole life, I've never talked to you this way ever. I want to celebrate. I want to bring the fist pump out. I want to bring my fist pump out when I want because I own that. And finally, the 5th word is the most important word. I realize in a journey, just like if you and I go on a road trip, fuel is the most important word. What is the fuel? Without fuel, the car is not going anywhere. I realize my fuel is positivity, which means my tank doesn't have to be full. My tank doesn't have to be half full. I don't have to be always positive. Even if I have a drop of positivity left, I need to go to a source to refuel. When I'm going very down, I'm not positive anymore, very little left, I call my daughter. I call Sid, I call you. Like somehow, somewhere you guys don't even know Arjun is coming to recharge from you. And I leave positive because there are so many positive people around. And that really helps because life is very simple because at the end of the day, you and I have the exact same wealth. We have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we are blessed that we can choose how we spend every second of the day. We have total choice. And that's the part where my whole thing is goal, then appreciate, prepare, celebrate, but always have a refueling plan. Anytime it's going low, charge. And that I think really gets me going. So, and I want to be there.
That's wonderful.
So
that's wonderful. Good luck with everything. You're doing a great job, and I've read your books, and they're very inspiring and motivating, and this is wonderful.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you. Truly appreciate. And thanks for inspiring us all these days. And thank you. And I wish you all the amazing health and happiness selfishly, because we need you to keep inspiring us in the days and the years forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun. Same to you. And I'm going to go and celebrate having spent an hour with you today. So.
You've been listening to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. To learn more, visit www.zenmango.com. Share this podcast with your friends and subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts.